Hello and welcome to the Crow's Nest. My name is Brandon Kane. I appreciate you for watching and all of the new subscribers that have jumped aboard on the channel. We got some good news to report today. We've had a few days to turn it over, but our Mariners have continued to put forth the good tidings here. Basically, post July 1st onwards, it's been nothing but sunshine and roses at every turn. Mariners turned on a 14-game winning streak, got a couple All-Stars, made a great aggressive trade for a top front rotation pitcher in Luis Castillo, who has continued to pitch well for your Mariners. And your young superstar has continued on through his rise, even with a couple of injuries that have popped up along the way. And the Mariners add on to this with the news that Julio Rodriguez has been signed to a contract extension, a monster contract extension. This is an unprecedented deal. You do not see this in baseball where a rookie player is paid this well on this long of a contract. So are Mariners being crazy, or are they being crazy like a fox? Well, I'm going to lean in to say more crazy like a fox. This is a move that is forward thinking. It is not reactive. This is not a move of you going with the herd and being like a lemming. This is you as a team and an organization trying to think how creatively you can get this very important player into your future locked in now in a deal that makes sense for both you and the player in order for you to be able to keep him then longer. Getting past, let's say, those 4 or 5 year deals you might get to younger players so he can get back to having an opportunity in free agency longer in his career. And we've seen some young deals being done out there. The Fernando Tatis one standing out as far as giving the player a really young contract there. And what the Mariners have essentially done is they've taken a guy where they have a lot of club-controlled years here while he is still young, and they have taken those off the books and said, we're not going to do the cheap thing on you here. But then you have to understand, by us giving that away, you've got to go a little bit cheaper then through the point of your prime, through the meat of this contract. And so Julio's giving up a little bit of something. The organization is giving up a little bit of something. But both of them are also winning here. Julio doesn't have to wait those multiple years, doesn't have to worry about the risk of injury costing him hundreds of millions of dollars. And the Mariners can set their situation up with their salary now throughout the course of the next 10 years and position him within that and be able to structure themselves from a contractual standpoint with other players nicely. You'll be able to still add in other deals. This is not going to hamstring you in a way as if you had waited a couple of years and then found yourself now, oh, we got to pay him and we're going to have to pay him top of the market money. A little bit like what we're seeing with the Yankees and Aaron Judge right now, where they've played this game out to the far ends of the earth on it. And now he wants to be top paid. And there's even a very real chance where he might eventually go to another team altogether. You also saw the Nationals play this same game with Soto, where they were trying to get a deal done with him, and they were trying to backload the deal and play a little around with the money and then stretch out as much time, and then they realized, oh, he's not going to take the deal. Now we got to offload him. Now, they've certainly got a nice haul back in return from the Padres, but it's not ideal to be moving superstar players. That's not the pathway to building a great team, to building a World Series contending team. And the Mariners are not going to find themselves in that position at that point with this type of contract. I love this in every way, shape, and form. It's hard to pull this one apart. Yes, there is a little bit of an injury risk involved, or risk that maybe this player goes into the tank. But quite frankly, if I look through the history of baseball and go through those guys that have popped up that are those prodigal type players, be it a Griffey or an A-Rod or a Mike Trout, or we can go through a bunch of different names here. There's not a lot of guys, but there's a certain grouping of names here that we'd put together. Most of those guys that come on the scene and bang, continue to bang. They don't tend to just fall off a cliff. And yes, major injury is always a little bit of a concern out there, but this is baseball. This isn't football or other sports of high contact. So it's a little bit easier for these guys to maintain their health, a little bit more likely that he can play out over the course of this entire contract. Let's look at right now a couple of the details of the deal. And Jeff Passan did a great job of really breaking this down. I'll read a little bit of this off to you guys, and then we'll kind of break down the intricacies a little bit more of this deal. There's a lot to digest on Julio Rodriguez's extension with Seattle. The deal could be for 8, 13, 16, or 18 years. It guarantees Rodriguez $210 million. If it maxes out, it will be the largest ever at $470 million. But again, that maxed out is based upon him hitting performance bonuses, the team enacting the contract later on, saying, yeah, we'll enact this option. We want to keep him through. So yes, it's a lot of money, but it's not all guaranteed. It's just the 210 that's the important part to factor in here. That's actually the guaranteed portion. The base of the deal is for 8 years and $120 million. It includes this season and runs through 2029. After 2028, the Mariners must decide whether to pick up a club option. The size and length of that depends on Rodriguez's performance in MVP voting. So again, performance-based. This factoring in a little bit. If you end up paying him a little more than what we're talking here, it's because he's mashing. It's because he's tearing the cover off the ball. And you're perfectly happy to pay those rates when you're getting top-of-the-market performances. The option is for 8 or 10 years on top of the original deal. Depending on how Rodriguez fares in MVP voting, wins and finishes, it can range anywhere from $200 to $350 million. If the Mariners pick up the option, Rodriguez's guarantee in the deal is at least $320 million. So the Mariners are putting in place here a situation where they're allowing for him, if he does outperform the deal in the way they've set this up, to still be fair with him, where he's not caught in the trappings of being paid pennies kind of on the dollar. If he's out there hitting 45 home runs a year and a 300 average and playing great defense and running the bases phenomenally, he's not going to be caught in that position. And again, you've created a win-win situation. Sometimes clubs look at these type of deals with the players and how can we get over them? How can we get them at their cheapest for the maximum amount of time? Sometimes that builds up animosity. Sometimes that doesn't always set the stage right for the future negotiations when you want to get the next contract up and running. The players will kind of tend to remember that, and they'll go ahead and mimic a little of your behavior right back at you, give you a little bit of your taste of your own medicine, if you will. And the Mariners haven't done that here. This kid is going to be an awesome player here. I've done a couple of videos on this channel already regarding Julio. See those videos for breakdowns of why I see this kid on his ascent. But this is a guy who, when it settles out, I see as a 300 hitter, 45 home runs a year, great defense, a guy that's just a keynote part of this lineup that you can build around. He's hitting lead up right now, but I think eventually he will find his way more into the middle of that order. And once you have some protection then behind him, some really true protection back there, and he gets locked in and matures a little bit more, I'm not thrown off by his inconsistency this year. You'd expect to see that. Within his inconsistency, he's going to have darn near very close to probably the same year Ken Griffey Jr. had when he was 21 years old. So the consistency will come. The fact that he has bloomed so early is the eye-opening part, and you don't see it in baseball. It's a rare thing. It's part of how you know with him he is so special. It's hard for guys to get here this good. Look at a guy like Kelnick at 23 still trying to figure it out. This kid's figuring it out, and he's mashing at the very same time. This is a phenomenal deal for your Mariners every which way you cut it. And this is also going to go far, I think, to helping to maybe potentially recruit free agents here, to have a guy like this here. He's a guy in this lineup, again, that just beyond the production of what he provides, you see a leader of the future. You see a vibrance that he provides to the clubhouse, that youthful exuberance that he provides to the clubhouse that's been so missing on prior Mariner teams that had so much more of the button-down, tighten tie up to the top of their neck where they can barely breathe. Everything just really sort of tight and businesslike in its approach. He goes out there and reminds you that this is indeed a child's game and that we are out here to have fun with that smile on the face and the way he goes about the game. It is going to be an honor and a pleasure to watch him play now over the next 10 years, hell, maybe 18 years, if all of the contract escalators click in and the options click in and we have him for that amount of time. How nice is it to know that we're going to have a superstar here in Seattle for potentially here in the next 10 years, with so many superstars have left through the years. I go back to my youth, Tom Chambers, Mark Langston. You got Randy Johnson for him, granted, but he had to go, and I was a lefty. I loved Mark Langston growing up. Randy went eventually. Griffey went. A-Rod went. Basketball, you lost Kemp and Peyton. We've had watch a lot go. Hell, even Russell Wilson this past year in football. So used to losing these superstars, and it is never easy to do. It always makes you just, I think, a little bit more bitter when you have to see it, but we're not going to lose Julio. The team has understood his value, how important he's going to be to this team and its future. It's great to see. And once again, Jerry Dipoto just continues to make masterful move after masterful move over the course of probably about the last year and a half. And it has been wonderful to see. I'm very glad that he is at the helm. I'm so excited for the future of this team, not just this year, but moving on to the next couple of years, and you should be too. So here's to the future MVP of your Seattle Mariners, Julio Rodriguez, on a well-deserved contract extension, and the future star of this team, future leader of this team, and maybe the future sports face here of Seattle now for the foreseeable future. My name is Brandon. Thank you for watching. Please hit that like button and get ready to get very excited about your Seattle Mariners ball club. Go M's!